guys, so it's been a minute since I made a video. There's been a lot of stuff going on since, things started to open up again. So I've been kind of busy. Anyway, today I want to talk about drum tuning the toms in particular. I'm going to show you my method, if you will, and there was a time when I would take all of the hardware off the shell, and I mean all of it, the tuning casings, the mount holders, everything, and I would hit the shell with a mallet, and you could hear a pitch. So that was the fundamental pitch, and let's say it was an octave below 440, let's say. Then I put all the hardware back on, and now I'm going to tune the heads to that pitch, or one of the harmonic overtones of that pitch. And that worked. If you want to go through all that trouble, yeah, I can almost guarantee you're going to get really good sounding toms, because it makes sense. I mean, it's science, right? You get the shell to resonate at its natural frequency. Okay, the problem with that is, because I do mostly live playing, the drum by the end of the first set is out of tune again, like I'm hitting them. Anyway, so I stopped doing that. It's just too much trouble. It was basically 4 toms. You're talking an entire afternoon. So now I'm at the other extreme. I throw the heads on, I hit it until it sounds good. I'm finding that sweet spot, that combination of bottom resonant head and top head tuning that allows the drum to, vibrate at its natural pitch. And it's hit or miss. I put the heads on, I tighten them up, try and start out where all the tensions are even, and then from there I just wing it. I hit until it sounds good, basically. Now that's not really a method, is it? If you do it right, the hit or miss way, you wind up kind of where you were doing the real pain in the ass way, where you take everything off the drum. I mean, look, you can get any drum to sound good post-recording. In other words, you can EQ them, there's things you could do. You could even trigger a different sound these days, so it's not nearly as critical, but I'm kind of old school. I think that at the end of the day, a good sounding drum is going to be much easier to record, and there's going to be a lot less work you're going to have to do on the back end. So, here we go. Back in the 80s, this guy named Gary Gauger invented what became known as the RIMS system. And what was so unique about this mounting system is it was the first system of its kind that took all of the mounting hardware off of the shell. So that allowed the drum to resonate more. So I bought them, right? And I've had these for a long time. They're not the easiest things to deal with. Anyway, when I ordered these drums, I purposely ordered them without any mounting hardware. There is no mounting hardware. The mounting thingy here isn't touching the shell at all. It's mounted to this plate, which is mounted to this rim, which through eyelets attaches to the drum. So the drum is literally floating. I'm explaining to you guys like you've never seen anything like this. It's pretty common these days. And there's been a lot of improvements since these things were made. Anyway, I'm going to take this shit off now. Here we go. Okay, I got the rim off. My die-cast hoops, very expensive, as some of you may know, are really filthy. So I'm going to clean them. WD-40. Good stuff. It also preserves the finish so it doesn't corrode as fast. Just a hot tip. Okay, I just went through the ordeal of taking off the tuning lugs and cleaning the shit out of this rim and the shell. Back when I was in high school, I studied with Joe Morello in my senior year, maybe. And there was a guy there, this jovial old fellow. I can't remember his name, But he turned me on to something that stuck with me for a long time. This is petroleum jelly with the commercial name of Vaseline. So you take your tuning lug, dip it in the petroleum jelly, and then install it into the tension casing. Makes for a much smoother, thread to thread, less friction, and also prevents corrosion on the tuning lugs. I've got the new head on. I've tensioned all of the tension rods so the drum head just has a tiny bit of tension. And I also backed off on the tension on the bottom resonant head because I'm starting totally from scratch. So both heads now are the least amount of tension they could have without just being all flappy. I'm going to put a little bit more tension on the bottom head. Just a little, maybe like a half a turn for each lug. All right, so I got some tension on the bottom head. Now I'm going to tension, there you are. Now I'm going to tension the top head. Quarter to half a turn. Anyway, now it's a question of hunting and pecking, so to speak, until I find the sweet spot. Okay, check this out. I'm not done yet, but I wanted you guys to hear this. I'm going to put this up to the camera mic. That's the fundamental tone. Now, if I feel it's too high, and I don't know because really I got to tune the other drums. Here's the part about tuning. It's not really so much the individual drum. It's however many toms you have and how much they ring, how they work together. So you can have a situation where you hit one tom, but it triggers a fundamental tone in another tom, and that other tom now starts ringing like crazy as well. So it does get pretty complicated. So for me, at this stage of the game, it's just about finding that pure fundamental tone, and I'm definitely in the ballpark. Now I have to figure out, I'm going to do all the drums, okay, because I have to. I got them tuned. This is just the camera mic, so they won't sound that great. All right, now let's record through Logic and see what it sounds like in a recording, which is really all that matters. All right, guys, if you've made it this far, I would just sort of explain a little bit of what I did in Logic. So first I'll play the first couple bars without any EQ. So here's the toms without EQ. All right, there's some pretty ugly mid-rangey stuff going on there. So now let's check them out with EQ. Do the same thing. All right, can you hear that there's more punchiness in the low end? So these are small drums. I suppose if I had it to do all over again, I would have went with larger sizes, but whatever. So I typically with these drums find that I need to boost the low end and sometimes cut the mid-range. I'm going to very quickly just show you my EQ curves. So this is the highest tom. All I did was boost the low end around 150 cycles by 8.5 dB. That's a lot. And my Q width is, roughly 100 to 200 cycles. That's all I did to the highest tom. All right, now the 10-inch, well, wow, I boosted the low end to plus 12.5 dB. That's a lot. And I cut the mid-range down minus 7 dB. The fact that there's such a huge disparity, between boosting the low end a lot and cutting the mid-range, this much of a disparity between the two, zones is really just bad tuning. So I need to tweak that second tom a little more. And then finally, now both of my low toms are going to one track. Don't ask me why, it's a long story, but they are, just so you know. So I'm really cutting the mid-range, I mean a lot. And I'm boosting the low end, not an insignificant amount, but really not that much, like, 4.5 dB. And then way down at 41.8, really 50 hertz, I'm boosting it plus 7 dB. So that's basically the way I handle the EQ situation. And other than that, they went in straight away. Hey guys, so a few final thoughts, as if this video wasn't long enough. So subsequent to recording, all this stuff, I found a YouTube video by none other than Dave Weckl on the subject of drum tuning. So I'm going to leave a link in the description below. There's a lot of useful stuff in it. And also, of course, you get to watch Dave do his thing, which is always amazing. So there's that. But he brought out something that I kind of forgot to mention, and I can't believe I did. That's seating the head. That's very important. When you put a new head on the rim and put the hoop back on and tension a little bit, while you're tensioning, you have to keep pushing on the head with your palm, and you'll hear kind of a crackling sound. That's the head seating itself to the bearing edge of the shell. If you don't do that, it's almost impossible to get the drums to sound good. So you have to seat the head. Very important. Again, you keep pushing until that crackling sound goes away. As you tension the top head, just keep pushing on it. All right, so I've done some tweaking since the last, since I recorded that stuff. So I wanted you to kind of hear where I'm at now. So I'll just play a little bit with this sort of tweak tuning, and that should be it. So that's it. Here we go. All right, so that's where I'm at right now with these drums. As far as EQ, I really just kind of flattened everything out a little bit, so I don't really have any more radical EQs on these drums as I got them to be more in tune the way I like them. So, okay, so, whoops, one more final thought. What's way more important to me at this stage in my drumming life is the playing. It's the playing that really matters. A not so good drummer on a great sounding drum kit won't sound as good as a really good drummer who knows how to make the music feel good and knows how to play, tastefully and all the great stuff that drummers are supposed to bring to the table. A really good drummer is going to sound really good on a kit that doesn't sound that good. I mean, obviously you want to have everything at a high level, but the playing is it for me. So I'm not as concerned about tuning in spite of the fact that I made this yet another overly long video. And I think that's everything. So I'm going to go now. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.